So we should be up on YouTube, Facebook.
Let me refresh. I am seeing YouTube. Let me do an audio check. Keep talking, please.
Talking.
And I'm talking.
Instagram is being a brat.
All right, both mics are good on YouTube. I can't check your Instagram, sorry. But I do see Facebook is up. And audio is good on Facebook and YouTube. So last one to join is Whatnot.
Yep.
Hello everyone, welcome to the last session of our Saturday Rejecticon. We will also be coming back tomorrow, Sunday, with 2 other sessions, but this is our last 2-hour session for today. Just getting started. Steve, when will that Phyrexian Glistener Elf AP shown last night be auctioned? I tried to get him to auction it earlier today, but he didn't want to. He fought me on that one. He wants to do more arting on it tonight. But this actually kind of leads into, and maybe I can help facilitate this. We talked about doing a warm-up sketch coming back. And the idea was to do a 15 or 20 minute warm-up sketch on the back of an artist proof. So he'll draw for 15 or 20 minutes, and the last 5 minutes of that, we'll start the auction on it. How do you feel about it, Steve? Do you want to do that? It'll be a quick sketch.
How quick?
15 or 20 minutes.
We can see how far we get in that time.
Do you want to do a Glistener Elf, the Phyrexian Glistener Elf artist proof?
In 15 minutes?
In 20 minutes? Do you want to do the sketch on a...
Oh, a different sketch?
Yes.
Okay, we should be on Whatnot too.
Yep, we are.
A different, I mean, yeah, we could do that, or we could...
So, sorry, to rehash what we were talking about. That Phyrexian Glistener Elf artist proof that Steve was talking about, showed last night, he still wants to do some work on. I tried to fight him earlier and auction it, and he wouldn't let me. I'm giving him dirty looks for all of you. You're welcome. He says totally fair. I still am saying I'm giving you dirty looks. Did we auction that dragon one also?
The Bumblebee Dragon?
No, the more serious dragon that was the sepia tones.
Nope.
Damn it, Steve. Those are the two everyone wanted.
They're not done yet.
They want to see them again anyway.
Hmm.
The dragon's done enough. I can understand the elf, but the dragon is done enough.
Okay, so there's the elf.
This is the one he wanted to work on more. It's just kind of got the sepia tone base layer. And this is the dragon. This one is a flesh and blood dragon. And flesh and blood artist proof.
Yes.
But I think that one is done enough.
And it's on a fancy Kyloria.
It's on a fancy Kyloria, so that one would actually be pretty expensive just because of the Kyloria it's on, right?
Yeah.
That card alone, how much do we sell that card for?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's like 250 or something.
Yeah, and so that one will start pretty high and then have the painting added onto it. Abracadabra wants to know when you plan to sell the elf. So.
Well,
do you want to do a 15 or 20 minute warm-up sketch that we can then sell for the last 5 minutes?
Okay. Yes. Let's do a sketch. And one thing.
Are you just gonna pull out? Oh, you're doing a death right.
So yes. Yes.
Steve's pulling out a death right artist
I've been
proof.
doing a lot of ever-flowing chalices because I just have so many of them. But a lot of people have been asking for this Deathrite Shaman Retro Border. I got them not super long ago. Like, it took forever for these to get here. But I haven't put them up on my website yet. So, and this is a foil.
Like triple ESO.
I know.
I'm muted right now on mine, so they're only picking me up on yours because I'm trying to eat my shake.
Oh. So yeah, we'll do a sketch on one of these because it's cool and fancy. Anybody have requests?
All right, request on the back of this fancy, fancy, shiny, shiny. What we're gonna do here, keep in mind it's a 15 to 20 minute sketch. In the last 5 minutes of the sketch, we will turn on the auction. J Foods asked this earlier, is Kamigawa or Phyrexia themed card? Someone else said something with shaman and a snake. Which does more go with the shaman stuff. Nate for 51 is saying some flesh and blood goodies. So we have fab people. Nate, we actually, if you look over in the products, we have some fab goodies that we'll be auctioning later. We usually ask people what they're interested in for the auction. So check out those auctions over in the product and you can speak up and say what you want to do. Narin said, draw your snake. Thurhith. Deathrite Shaman staring into his skull like Hamlet, alas, poor Yorick. Someone said, draw your snake, and immediately, of course, we're saying, of course, Sir Hiss. Then they said, the one in the terrarium. Because, yes. All right. People are coming. The audio is better today. Yep, we fixed our audio. People stayed on last night and helped us work through our audio issues. We troubleshot that. Hopefully, we did, between this session and the last session, we put the computer in timeout. So it went to sleep and woke back up, so hopefully it won't misbehave. All right, I am starting a 10-minute timer. Yes?
Why timers?
All right, we'll let you just draw for a bit, and then we'll start an auction for it.
You
So-
can't time art.
Yes, we can. I do it all the time.
I know.
I have to time art, or you would never be done. Just a heads up, I know it's a repeating, but people come and go. So if you are over on any of the social medias like YouTube or Facebook or anything like that, feel free to be a lurker there. I am checking the chats on Facebook and YouTube. I am not on Instagram. Sorry. So we're not really checking the chat there on Instagram. If you want to join the chat, come over. And then also if you want to bid on some of the auctions that are going to be happening during the Rejecticon, come over to Whatnot. And on Whatnot is where you can bid on those auctions. All right. Someone asked, what is Rejectocon?
So, Rejecticon is our answer to being rejected. Normally, in a given year, we go to a bunch of Magic tournaments. And we had planned on doing that this year. But the company that is running the Magic tournaments this year, Reed Pop, they're doing things strangely. They're basically, they invite like all of the artists that have ever worked in Magic, and then they decide who they want to actually come after inviting everybody, and then they tell the rest of us, no, you can't come. But they don't give us a whole lot of time. They'll have us apply way in advance, and then a couple months before the show, they'll be like, hey,
No.
no.
So we were declined for Philly and we were declined for Amsterdam.
So we've been declined for 3 out of 4 shows, and we had already set aside time for Amsterdam, which is this weekend. So we're like, fine, we'll just do our own convention. Blackjack and hookers. But since I'd already set aside the time, something I get asked a lot is, will I do sketches and alterations and all that kind of stuff through the mail? And the answer is almost always no, because I'm booked. I have plenty of other stuff to do, and I already kind of overdo it. But since I'd already set aside time, I was like, you know, maybe we go ahead and do that and
We
make
our
a
own
thing of it.
convention
And that's
where we
what
don't have to
this
wear
is.
pants.
Yes, no pants. The best kind of conventions.
So that's what Rejecticon is, and so I am posting in YouTube and in Facebook the link to what's not or whatnot. Yeah. And so you guys can join us over there if you do like. And if you want to do some of the bidding on whatnot, I'm posting it in there right now in the chat. And so Rejectocon is where we do an EasyCon from the comfort of our own home. Some of the things that we've been auctioning are one-offs that we wouldn't necessarily bring to a convention. Sorry. Ah!
Gesundheit.
I'm gonna sneeze in the mic. Sorry, guys. Hurt you. So we're selling some one-offs that we have, some prototypes. We did pre-orders, and so we're doing some sketches for that too. And doing that here where you can see it. Come on, ask questions. And Reese said get Angle and Howard Lyon for next year, side-by-side paintings. We actually did ask Angle and Howard Lyon to come, and they were both very excited, and then
I dropped the ball by
and
not
we didn't
actually.
follow up with them and didn't get it set up to have people added to the stream. But if this goes well, and it is going well, we'd love to make this a yearly thing and make our own little. Although I think we might call it PajamaCon, where we sit on our couch and do art. And so we did have the idea and reached out to Angle and.
Kat's gonna change her batteries, and hopefully that will fix the audio problem.
Sorry, that's me. Again, everything. It's me. There. Oh. I'm getting some other static, I think.
Oh no.
Not sure.
My battery
Seconds ago.
is 2/3 full, supposedly. So
Mine said it was 2/3 full too. I feel lied too. That's what mine did earlier too. Yep, sorry about the audio. It's that my mic went out. MTG Artist Proofs was saying that they were waiting for a proof of yours for 5 years or more, and this
Oh,
is
wow.
an awesome chance to get that.
oh, awesome! Thank you. Which one's yours? And we'll start painting on it after we do the sketch.
Emery's also said, really glad I could get in on the pre-order too. Looking for the auction on the end of this one too. MTG Artist Proof said theirs was an artist choice.
Oh,
Oh, those are gonna be fun.
was it an artist choice, serious or silly? Serious. Okay. Yes, I know which one.
Alright, I'm gonna work on fixing my speakers. Sorry. It says it has battery.
Deception. I guess you guys can't hear what Kat is saying.
Yeah,
She's
they can hear me. I'm just in the background.
okay.
You can hear everything. Oh, now it says it has one chunk. I feel so lied to. So, Steve, what are you drawing? Tell us about what you're drawing.
It's a Kamigawa shaman with a snake.
All right.
So it's a combination.
Combination of what was asked for. I'll be right back. Gotta go get battery.
And I'm being a little bit quiet because timer. The more I talk, the slower I get.
Sure, Steve. Blame the quietness on the timer. Blame it on me while I can't defend myself because I'm trying to fix the mic. I see.
That's how you win. You cheat.
All right, I am full of battery. Now, let's go check about my receiver. All right, turning back on my receiver. I think I'm back. Yay! Thanks for letting us know about the audio.
And since this is our inaugural Whatnot stream and everything, let us know what you like, what maybe we should be doing different.
Learn how to what's not. I think
Yes.
that is the key takeaway.
We need to learn how to Whatnot. And also just the things that you like about the stream or might want to see different. because I really should be engaging a little bit more with all you guys. So maybe I'll do a stream more regularly.
Steve, someone is wondering, what is the Levia the Adorbination? What is that on the back of? Oh, it's a blank card, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a Flesh and Blood blank.
So it's the one that's the Flesh and Blood image, like card, but like a card back.
Yeah, I can.
Someone's wondering if you'll be selling Teferi's protection artist proofs after you get them.
If I get them, absolutely.
Sometimes for those special runs like that, we don't get artist proofs. So. The Dromai one is on a Marvel Dominia. And the cute chunky baby Kylori is just on a Steve Argyle card. Steve Argyle backed card. Russell Franz is back from yesterday. Happy to see that the audio is working today. We're happy and grateful that you jumped over to What's Not Yesterday when it wasn't so happy. Thank you for coming to our preview night.
We're learning. We're getting better.
Someone's asking me what character I'd love to see you do. It came up earlier and I hadn't ever thought of it, but I would love to see Steve do more Dream. He was working on the sketch of Death from Sandman. I'd love to see him work on the Sandman IP. That'd be amazing. I'd love to see him draw a Sandman. I'm excited to see how this Death turns out. Nate's asking what your favorite convention or area to go to when you're going to conventions.
Oh. That's a hard question because we like a lot of different conventions for different reasons, you know. It's like trying to pick a best friend or something. Like we love traveling internationally, so Luca Comics and Games is one of our favorites.
Well, and the crew there at Luca just takes care of you. They're so solid.
Yeah. So that's probably our favorite regular show.
But then I'd also Gen Con is Friend Con.
Yeah, Gen Con is like our tried and true oldest best friend kind of show. We love any excuse to go to Japan.
Fun city, talking about cons, Dragon Con. I love going to the aquarium there, the puppetry museum, and all of that. So talking about like a fun city to go explore in, that's a cool thing about Dragon Con.
We got to do a couple of magic shows in Paris.
That was fun.
I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. We've gotten to go around the world. We're very, very lucky.
New Zealand, one of our favorite places.
With what we've gotten to do and see with Steve's work. I appreciate it. All right, Steve, start tightening that up. Because you are 16 minutes in.
There's not enough minutes left.
Abracadabra says hit the snooze button just 5 minutes more.
Yes. I'd be so productive
We're
if
all
I could make a
technically
little,
in our pajamas.
I could make a little pocket universe where time stopped.
Oh, Russell Franz is going to be at Gen Con this year.
Oh, awesome.
We'll be at Gen Con this year. We're going to totally be at Gen Con this year. Same booth as always. So you got to stop by our booth and say hi. No excuses now. We are not in the Artist Alley at Gen Con. Most people, if you've seen us there before, there's an Artist Alley, which is super, super awesome. But we aren't in the Artist Alley. We are actually a vendor. But our booth is on the
We're very
corner
close.
of the Artist Alley. We actually have an island there with us, Jason Engel, Drew Baker, and Alan Panicall. We call it Troublemaker Island, where we all have 10 by 20 booths, and it's just a giant party. So please come check us out at Gen Con. Dragon Con will be in booth 1, as usual. We have the first booth, quite literally, on the first floor in the America's Mart. Again, we're not in the Artist Alley, we're in the vendor hall at Dragon Con. Totally accidentally chanced upon getting the first booth at Dragon Con.
Yeah, there really isn't a better spot. We got super lucky.
So everyone's begging me to give you more time on that. What they don't realize is that you're the one who has to add it to Whatnot.
Oh,
I'm sitting here threatening you, but it's pretty much empty threats. But guess what I can do?
uh-oh.
I can figure out how to.
Oh.
And I might mess up the stream.
I think you have to, so you can add items from the phone, which is probably going to be easiest because that's how you're going to need to take a photo of it.
Do you have the What Now app on your phone?
Do. All right. I'll let you figure it out.
Cute.
Or you can give it back to me when I
Cute.
am ready because I think it's probably not too different than the website.
Products. People are going to hear me struggle bust through this right now. Oh my gosh.
Is that a new term you young ones are using? Struggle bust?
I'm on the struggle bus. I am struggling. You young ones? Oh, that's cute too, Steve. You think I'm using hip and cool language?
You're cool, you're hip, you're with it. And for some of the folks who have been to a few of these of our streams, let us know if you like seeing the sketches better than the paintings or vice versa.
What are we calling this one, Steve? We're calling it...
My brain's out of juice.
What did you say it was?
It's a Kamigawa shaman.
All right, you guys have until I can figure out how to get this up and ready. Is this why you haven't been teaching me how to use Whatnot? You didn't want me to...
Because I have all the power.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's because we had to eat.
What's the starting price with that? Because it was a super special artist proof.
So
It was a
normally
foil.
it would be a very expensive
Deathrite
artist
shaman.
proof, and I haven't figured out what it's going to cost. So we'll just start with the price of a standard convention sketch. So we'll start it at 80. So
Are you kidding
the,
me?
the proof, at least, well, yeah.
Wow.
So the proof part is free.
Oh, I can only select the show
You
tomorrow.
can't select the show that we're doing?
Not with how I'm setting this up right now.
Huh.
So I
See?
guess I set it up wrong.
Hmm.
Gotta try again. Sorry if I take the show offline. What was for dinner, Steve?
We got burgers from Cubby's. And maple, fries. Sweet potato fries. And Huckalala shakes.
Which is a huckleberry shake with
These things,
chocolate chip chunks in it.
they're delicious. I need my sweets.
Okay, I think I might have had quick ad product. I might have figured it out.
Haha. I had every confidence in you.
Oh, I'll figure anything out. I'm a QA. It's what I do for a living, quite literally. How much info do you get for a card illustration from a company? What's the usual lead time?
Well, it depends on the company. For Magic the Gathering, they give us a style guide that has a bunch of concept art. So that is just packed full of information. That's like 150 pages, something like that, with a lot of concept art in it. But the description itself is usually fairly brief. It's like a sentence or two. But it often will refer to the style guide, be like, on such and such page, this is what this guild looks like. Or if you're doing a creature, it'll have some concept art or some description or art from previous sets and stuff. So we have a lot of reference to go on.
Guess what, Steve? I'm awesome and figured it out. You have 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay.
Hold on, I have to change the time.
It hasn't started yet then.
It
So-
has now.
A lot of times
Boom,
the description,
5 minutes.
the descriptions are usually like just a sentence or two. It's like we need a mage casting a fireball down an alley, and sometimes they'll refer to like a specific guild or something. We usually get the card color, which is kind of important in a game that's all about color. but we don't get information like power and toughness or special
you do
abilities.
usually know if it's, there's certain cards where they pay more, so you do know if it's a higher tier card.
Yeah, that's true. Other clients, other businesses and things like that, sometimes have a lot more. Sometimes it's annoying because it's so much. It's like pages and pages and pages of description for one image that you know you're gonna have to, like, the reason it's annoying is you know that they've kind of got a picture in their head, and it's really hard to match a picture in someone else's head. Because oftentimes it's not actually a picture. It's they like have a checklist of stuff, and then they have a kind of feeling of what it should look like, not a picture of what it should look like. And so what you're really trying to do is match the emotional reaction that they want to have when they see it. And that's very hard.
Russell Franz was saying it's quite different from the early days, and you did start out before they had those style guides and stuff in Magic.
Yeah, they were just starting to do style guides, so they. I don't remember if they had it for. Well, yeah.
Yeah, because he was saying it started out. Have you read The Gathering? That is it. Jeff Menges, is that how you say that? Helped put together as an archive foot of the original artists of MTG, referring people to that, and yeah, it's come a long way. Things have matured. Oh, Sarhis is so cute. Maybe a little bigger than normal Sarhis, but he's adorable. Maybe we'll bring out Sarhis tonight. Has it been long enough? I think he can come out
He
tonight.
ate a couple days ago, and they usually don't like to be.
48 hours after a snake eats, you're not supposed to handle them, but I think it'll be 48 hours tonight. And so. Do you have to submit multiple options? Do they ever get kicked back? Someone asked it earlier, and it just wasn't good timing to talk about it. Someone also kind of talked about that earlier, where it's like, when you give them multiple options, do they ever pick the option you don't want, or the one that isn't your favorite?
The Murphy's Law of working as a commercial artist is if you they will always pick the option that you like the least. So, only give them the options that you really want, that you really like.
Or that you want to do.
I usually will give them, at least in the sketch phase, I will give them several options. Sketches get kicked back not uncommonly. That's kind of what the sketch phase is for, is you do loose work so that you can iterate on it and figure out what's going to work best. When a final is done, usually it's done. It depends a little bit on the client, but like Magic the Gathering, for example, they don't usually change things once you've gone to final.
Oh, final, yeah.
Because, yeah, the
Some
whole
of your
point...
World Beyond stuff kind of
Universes Beyond...
Or Universes Beyond, sorry.
That's
Because it has to get multiple approvals.
Yeah. That's the problem, is Universes Beyond is not just you have an art director
20
at Wizards.
seconds.
You have an art director at all of these places, and they all have to agree with each other. And sometimes they kind of bounce back and forth where you'll fix this thing because this person wanted it, and then the other person's mad that you changed it because they wanted it the other way.
Oh, we're going back and forth. We're getting a battle.
So I get to sketch until the battle's done, right?
Yep. I don't know if what I saw is true, but I think Abracadabra bid up on themselves to give you more time. It looked like that, at least. All right, Abracadabra won that one.
Awesome.
And just that, this is what we are promising you. But I have seen Steve take, like last night for our preview night, Steve took some of those ones and just added a little more. Because he can't help but do it. He wrote snooze button successfully pressed. They fight back against me and my authoritarianism.
Okay.
I have to give him timers, guys, or else you guys would get no art at all.
I'll put it aside for now. But yeah, I'm probably gonna revisit it just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, so Artist Choice Serious. That was this one.
And I'm just gonna also tell people, like, the camera Steve's using here, it shows pretty cool, but to be honest, they look even better in person, so. It sounds like the live action sketching is pretty popular here, Steve. We might have to do one of those per session at the beginning of a session. That'll get people in, so we'll tease that for tomorrow. At the beginning of every session, we'll do a 20-minute sketch that we'll then auction. And if you're here while we're setting it up, you can also have input as to what he sketches, as you guys just saw.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow's session is at 1 Mountain Time for 2 hours. And then it's 1 to 3, and then we have an hour break, and then is it 5 to 7? Is that right?
4 to 6.
4 to 6. Oh, yep. So 1 to 3 Mountain Time, and then 4 to 6 Mountain Time tomorrow. Russell was saying, Sir Hiss, that's a fantastic snake name. Yes, I am a huge Robin Hood fan. But his full name, his full title and name is Sir Jormungandr Hiss, Snake Ambassador. He is a delightful snake. We call him a snake ambassador because we actually have friends who have true fears of snake, whose hisses actually help overcome their fears by just being his chill, awesome snake self. People who went from couldn't be in the same room with a snake to now wanting to own one because Hiss is just a super chill guy. He's a sweetie.
He really is.
I love him. And he's yellow and purple. How can that be scary? So this is your serious artist choice?
Mm-hmm. It's mostly serious. It's a dragon and a tiefling-ish kind of devil lady, but the dragon is blepping.
Oh, the dragon is blepping. Is that in honor of our bleppy kitty?
Maybe.
Where is our bleppy kitty? He meowed earlier on the first stream today. Where is bleppy kitty? Oh, I should go check where he's at. I have found bleppy kitty. Oh, and Cancer Kitty is also coming in. So we have two kitties, Scorch and Cinder. They are brothers from the same litter. One's a marmalade and one is a tuxedo. But sadly, recently, Scorch Kitty, the tuxedo, got kitty cancer. So he's really, really skinny, mostly. They're 14 years old, so good long life, but kind of having to watch out for him, trying to give him his best life.
I think he's milking it. Because
You
he gets
think he's
all the
milking
best
it?
food now, and it's whenever he wants.
Oh no,
Cattle
the
sometimes
whatnot
feed him
might
by
have froze
hand.
out.
Oh.
YouTube
Is it back?
And Facebook looked good, but you might need to restart the whatnot. Oh wait, no, it caught up. It caught up. You're fine.
Okay,
Don't touch a thing.
I just need to learn that Whatnot wants to have focus. I was
It
adjusting.
needs all the attention.
I adjusted the camera to focus a little bit, and didn't go back to the Whatnot in the browser. And that's what happened a couple times yesterday too. Is it froze and it was just
Yep.
It was my fault.
It
I
of course
hadn't-
froze right when I walked away to go talk to the kitties. That's how life goes.
Well, you didn't need to be on camera at the time.
It's true. But yes, we have a couple animals. We also have, you can see the edge of a saltwater aquarium in the video. We have a 150-gallon saltwater aquarium too. So those are all our animals. Any questions from people? Checking out the chats here. Russell Franz says, poor kitty about Scorch. Little Scorch. He's lived a good long life.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make him comfortable. He says, plus the ones Sir Hiss eats. I buy the rats for Sir Hiss already dispatched.
There was one, like when he was little, live mouse that we put in the tank, and they just became friends.
No, he was terrified of it. He ran
Well, yeah,
away from it.
He was afraid of it, but it was like the next day they were just hanging out.
Well, we watched him the whole time, but yeah, he didn't try to strike it. Our pet snake had a pet mouse. It was a problem. MTG's Artist Proof says, as my first Steve Proof, I have to say this is awesome. I'm so excited. Well, right
Me
now
too.
it's just very brown, but I'm happy that just very brown makes you excited.
Yes, this is
You were on earlier where Steve was talking about getting some sort of base color down instead of white to have a contrast. I'll let Steve go on and explain.
Yeah, I'm basically just toning it so that I can work on top without having to worry about a lot of empty white space. It's also nice, this is kind of a warm brown.
And you'll see that it helps things pop out and get that contrast as he paints. Would you say that they say the enemy of a writer is a blank page? Is it the same idea with an artist? You can't have a white page?
A little bit. For most artists, it's that like, where do I start? What do I do? And just like writing or really any other creative endeavor, like the best way to overcome that is just do something. Anything, doesn't even matter. Just
Get started.
Start putting stuff down, and even if it's awful, there's something, and you can always work with something. Like most people are pretty good at knowing how to fix something, right? If you see if we're doing art, if you see a picture and something's wrong with it, you know what's wrong with it. You can vocalize what's wrong with it. You may not know exactly how to fix it, but you would even have a pretty good idea. And if you can get that far, then it's just, oh, okay, well then let's do that. Let's fix it. So just make a mess of something and start fixing things. If you watch the way I sketch, it's just big, loose, gestural. It's not a lot of fine lines in the beginning. It's just really rough. I'm going to put a thing here. There's going to be maybe a person here, maybe a head or something, and I'll erase and start over a lot. In fact, yesterday that was the thing, is I was doing little warm-up sketches and I kept just taking them off and tossing them, and you folks on the stream were like, "What are you doing? No, we finished them. Do something with them." But a lot of times that's just kind of how you start, is just something. And a lot of my warm-up stuff starts with kind of, for me at least, I wouldn't say generic, but stuff that I've done enough times that it's just kind of warming up the machinery. I'm not trying to be super creative. I'm not trying to do something new. I'm just kind of doing something known and comfortable to get started. And then I start working on making it interesting and doing something cool.
Someone's asking, do you have something you always go back to and work on, like an ongoing piece you do for yourself? You used to, but not lately.
I have some ongoing kind of themes. It's not like a single piece, but we were mentioning earlier the Minions and the Lopalops. I actually have a story not halfway written, more like a 10th written, but outlined pretty well and stuff. And it's like, at some point I want to make it into something like a series or a illustrated novel, something like that. And so I go back to that quite a bit. I have an awesome writing group that helps me work out some of the problems.
A good quote Russell Franz put in Facebook is, "Nothing diminishes anxiety faster than action."
Yeah.
That's a quote from Walter Anderson. Out of all the art you've done, which do you think is your greatest piece or favorite?
That's a very tough question.
By the way, people on Whatnot and on Facebook are kind of talking about your idea for your Minions. Russell said a web series, and
Maybe.
Nate said sounds like a Kickstarter project.
Yes.
Just see, and encouragement helps too. But anyway, sorry, back to all the art you've done. We're not asking your favorite magic card. We're asking, of all the art you've done, what do you think is your greatest piece or favorite?
So as an entire bunch of work, the Frugal Wizard's Handbook is a favorite.
That is good as a whole piece together. That was quite an undertaking.
One of my other favorites was also for Brandon Sanderson. It was the painting of Vin that I did for the Mistborn Leatherbound.
The orange Vin?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of your first commercial oil paintings? Is that the best way to put that?
That is my first commercial oil painting, and that's part of why it's a favorite of mine. Is I jumped in head first. I was like, I've been meaning to do an oil painting that's not just a quick practice piece or whatever, but get serious about it, see how far I can take it. And Brandon was very accommodating when I was like, I want to do it this way, but I am not fast. So, how long can you let me take on this? And it did take a long time. But part of what I was kind of going for was to have it look like my digital paintings look. Like, it wasn't obvious that I switched mediums and and I feel like I got there. Like most people don't know that that's an oil painting.
Mm-hmm. And TG Artists is saying they love that book, The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Medieval Europe by Brandon Sanderson. If you want to see all the, over 170 pieces of art you did for the book?
If you count everything, and that includes like the chapter headers that are like little they're all different little drawings. There's 194 illustrations.
So if you want to get all 194 illustrations, we were talking about this in the last one, you need to buy the Dragonsteel edition of the book from dragonsteel.com. The Tor version has like 10 pieces of art throughout. It has some of the black and whites and some of the
It's
color.
got all the frequently asked questions.
But it doesn't
It's
have the
got-
little margin doodle
It has no margin
story,
doodles.
which is a whole story in and of itself. So that's why we recommend getting the Dragonsteel version, is it has all the Argyle you can want.
Yes. And that's why it's one of my favorites, is that I got to do my thing.
And you're given
I
free
got
reign.
to I got to put a lot into it that normally normally it's a little bit set out for you. They know what pictures they want and you do it. Whereas the Frugal Wizard, it was like, here's a book, read it, just
Do your
illustrate
thing.
it. And
And every time you went back then with like, I have this crazy idea, they're like, okay.
And it's fun to see people react once they start realizing some of the stuff, like the chapter headers, right? They're just little rocks with symbols on them. But people will, as they're reading, start to wonder why they're different and what are the little pictures. And it starts to dawn on them that the symbols are significant. And then they start to realize that the shape of the rocks is significant and the orientation is significant, and there's just all kinds of Easter eggs hidden all over the place. And that was super fun to do.
And we do have, do you have the Frugal Wizard, do you have the stickers on the website for sale?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we do have stickers, so if you're coming to one of the cons, we actually have little Mervyn stickers, a 5-pack for sale. That is time also, it reminds me to remind people for the convention, everything on, if you go to steveargyle.com and buy anything there, we have convention pricing. If you put in at checkout, if you put in the code Rejecticon, no dashes, no caps. If you put that in at checkout, you get 20% off. It's our convention pricing for Rejecticon. Also, if you are buying a playmat on the website, you can add a note and we will add a free Mythic Rejecticon 2024 Mythic little stamp. They're the foil stamps to your playmat for free, as long as you add it. So just remind that. Good question here. Nate says, when did you figure out art could be your job?
So that is kind of an interesting story, how I arrived at that. I doodled and stuff throughout school, like most people do. Doodled in my notebooks, and I didn't give up quite as early or completely as a lot of people do when they hit the teenage years and stuff becomes more important. But at the time, I didn't think of making it into a career. I kind of wanted to do comic books, but I didn't think I could make a living at that. So I was going to school for chemistry, and I was thinking going into medicine. My dad's a doctor, and I've always been fascinated with medicine. I didn't want to do what he does, which is emergency medicine with a trauma specialty, because I don't think I could handle it if I did something wrong or forgot something or did something stupid that was, made for a poor outcome for someone. So I wanted to go into pharmacology or some other kind of medicine where there wasn't time pressure, there wasn't, if you forget something or screw up, somebody gets hurt. So I was going to school for chemistry.
All right, I'm going to pause you right there. A little bit of a cliffhanger. We should probably start an auction soon here. So people go look through the products. We now have some Flesh and Blood people who are in the chat, look through the different, we have 5 products still posted. If anyone's interested in us putting that up for auction, just mention it in the whatnot chat. So, all right, pharmacology, Steve.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to school back in the day where you could afford to go to school on just like working your way through.
Not have to take out huge student debts.
Yeah. And so what I did is during the summer, I just took odd jobs, whatever was in the classifieds. Partially only those jobs because chemistry's hard and has a lot of math. And I thought to myself, like, if I get a decent job, I might put off going back to school. And if I put off going back to school, I might not ever go back to school. So I was only taking like short little jobs. And what I realized was a lot of them were art related, right? They're just stuff like, we need a logo drawn, we need a website mascot, we need that sort of thing. So it was a lot of things that companies needed art, but they didn't need like a staff artist. So there was a lot of work for freelancers. And one day there was an ad for a studio artist at a company that did special effects for film and television and video games. And I thought, that sounds like a cool job. I mean, I don't have any of the qualifications that they would want, but I kind of told myself, I want to kind of see what it's about. So I'm going to go apply. And I did, and I brought my portfolio full of almost nothing. It was like some comic book characters I had drawn, and
You had your high school portfolio, which is above average, is how I'm going to put that. You've always been in art. You've always been into art.
yeah, I have. So they looked at it and they went, I mean, this stuff's cool and everything, but this isn't actually what we. So I had taken a little internship at a place that did that. And
High school, right?
well, I was in high school. And so I was like, oh, right. No, actually, like, I actually do know how to use, or I am familiar with that software. I did an internship at Viewpoint Data Labs. And they went, oh, huh. Well, okay, that's, so do you, we could use somebody who knows how to do characters and stuff if you know how to use the software. So tell you what, come back on Saturday and we'll do a second interview, right? Consider this one passed. The stuff you brought is not what we want, but if you know how to use the software, we'll just do a little test. We'll run you through it and we'll see if you're somebody that we're interested in talking to a little bit more. Sorry, slightly distracted by making pretty scales. So I, on the way home, bought a computer, because I didn't have one, and I searched high and low for the software, which was nowhere to be found. And this is before the days where you could just download stuff. I ended up finding it in the weirdest place of ever, which is a ski rental shop. It was the only place in the entire state, and it was a ski rental shop. I ended up calling the company that makes the software and being like, I can't find this anywhere. And they didn't do like mail orders. And they went, well, it looks like we have one distributor in your state. I drove out there, and it was in Park City, which is Utah's fancy place. So I thought I was going to some fancy place, like a fancy school or something, and I get there and it's a ski rental shop. And I ask them,
Steve, the question is, when did you figure out art could be your job?
oh yeah, I'm going way off on a tangent. So I guess it was when I was doing those classified ads is when I thought I could do this as a job.
Keep going on the story. I'm mostly teasing you. Keep going. Ski rental shop.
So I'm like, but do you guys sell? Insane. It's like, dude, we rent skis. Do you see anything but skis here? Why would we have software? Like, no, we don't. And I hear this voice from the back room. He's like, wait, somebody asking about software? And he runs out and he's like, so what was the software you're looking for? And I'm like, it was 3D Studio Max, which is brand new at the time. And he's like, yeah. Let me go get you one. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, this is the weirdest thing. And it turns out this guy really wanted to learn the stuff, and they didn't. He was kind of in the same predicament I was. But when he called them and was like, I can't find it anywhere at all, they're like, well, you can be a retailer or a distributor, but you have to buy, it was like 15 or 20. So he just did that, hoping that he could get rid of the rest. So he was thrilled that I wanted to buy one. Then I locked myself in a room, and I just went through their tutorial manual over and over and over again. And it didn't really prepare me for much of anything, because it was just a small little thing that's like, here's how to open the software, here's how to make a basic primitive shape like a sphere, and then here's how to put lighting in the scene so that you can see the sphere, and then animation is over here, and so here's how to like make the ball bounce across a room, and then this is how you render stuff. The end. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of want this job, so I'll practice this. And so I did. I just did that tutorial manual over and over and over and over and over again. And I go in for this interview just being like, the only reason I'm here is just because I don't want the reason to be that I flaked out that I don't get this job. I want to at least, show up. So they go, okay, so what we've been doing for people who've applied for this second round is we just want to run you through the software, and we're giving everybody kind of the same thing to do. We just need to know that you know how it works and a little bit of everything. So just animate a ball bouncing across a room. So, like, oh, that I know how to do. It's the only thing I know how to do. I didn't say that, of course. So I sit down and I takes me half hour, and I do the thing. It's bouncing across the room, and say, all right, I'm done. And they went, oh yeah, you quit. We figured you probably didn't actually know anything. You're kind of young for knowing any of this stuff. And I'm like, no, I mean, I'm done as in I have finished, not I'm quitting. So they come over and they look at it and they're like, okay. We want to watch you do it again. Like, we want to stand here. And so, okay, and I do it again. And I'm a little less nervous, so I do it faster. And they're really impressed. They're like, yeah, you just kind of went straight to everything. You even have like your hotkeys down. You pretty much like did better than anybody so far. So if you want to start on Monday, you're hired. And I was super excited, but also knew that I had just cheated my way into a job.
Hey, you made that ball bounce faster and quicker than anyone else.
So it did not take them long to find out
I need the Levia. Give me the cute Levia right now.
Where did I put the cute Levia?
Haha. Interrupting your story time again.
Cute Levia. Here she is.
Someone said most of the stuff that's left in there is kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that's why a lot of people aren't totally going for it.
They're either on a really expensive proof or they're an oil painting, which is kind of
expensive. But I am going to put up this adorable. Oh no, the Zoom is out.
So these folks who hired me, it took them about a half a day to realize that I didn't know anything at all. Now, I worked for them for 5 years. They told me much later, after I was the only one who survived 5 years. They do firings and layoffs and then rehirings and stuff. And but besides the CEO and the CTO, I'm the only one who lasted through all of those things. And they told me when the company eventually just disbanded, and they were like, so I don't know if you know this, but we almost fired you your first day. I'm like, I mean, I didn't know that, but it seemed pretty clear that you guys knew I didn't know what I was doing. And they're like, yeah, so we were going to fire you the first day. And we didn't. And we didn't fire you at all, right? But every day for 3 months, we would go to lunch and we'd say, we need to fire Steve. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. The guy can't do anything. And then they would be like, okay, so you're going to do that, right? And one of them they would say, no, I can't do it today. I got this other thing to do. It's like, well, I can't do it because I have this. I don't want to take the time. And so for 3 months, they would argue every day about who was going to fire me because they needed to fire me already. I was making minimum wage, so it wasn't costing them that much. And after what I was doing was doing as much as I could while I was at work, and then I would go home and I went through like the user's guide, and I'd poke around through the software and see what I could find out for myself. And so after about 3 months, I knew what I was doing well enough to be worth minimum wage.
So I'm gonna pause you there. We just put the cute Olivia, the Adorbination, up. That's the one on the top screen. We have a Mountain Dew can in there for size.
For scale.
For scale. So it is on, and I'll show really quick. We have that one up. So it's this cute little chibi, and it's on one of the Flesh and Blood sketch cards. So it is actually a Flesh and Blood back. They're adorable little one. So that is up for the next 5 minutes. If anyone wants to, someone is asking if the can is included. The can is not included because liquid is heavy and I don't want to ship a liquid.
We haven't accounted for that in shipping.
Pretty much. Someone was joking that they like your personality so much they couldn't get rid of you. Our joke is it was kind of like a Dread Pirate Roberts, good night, most likely fire you in the morning moment.
Yeah. I mean, they do still send me like Christmas cards and stuff.
Yeah,
the CEO.
When they even closed their business, but someone came back to them, you were their go-to. You were one of their most solid employees, and it's a lucky thing they kept you. But yeah, at the beginning, it was pretty rough. We have some other great questions over on Facebook. The first one is, Steve, who are your top 5 illustrators active today?
Active today. It's hard to narrow them down, but I'm going to say Donato has to make the list. He's amazing. He's one of the best
Donato
artists
Giancola,
there is.
full name for those people out there.
Absolutely amazing. When it comes to things that are more like line work and comics and stuff, Mark Nielsen.
Mark Nielsen.
Amazing, incredible. He inspired me way back in the day. He did the Dark Sun Monster Manual, as well as a ton of other things. But that's what caught my attention first. Was he just had this super cool way of rendering in line that.
See, yeah, I agree. Tony DiTerlizzi was like that for me with the with all the Planescape stuff. So I feel you on that. Okay.
And that goes along with some of the comic artists that I really liked at the time and still do.
Just a reminder, we have the auction up. The auction is the image up top with the Mountain Dew can, the Levia, the Adorbination.
Brahm has mostly retired, but I'm going to count him anyway because he still does illustrations for his own books. Brahm is amazing. Again, one of my early and continuing inspirations. He just, yeah, great style.
Okay.
Let's see. So I'm trying not to just say like all my favorite fantasy illustrators. I'm trying to think of other genres. We've got some favorites behind me here. Greg Manchess.
I'm not on you right now.
Oh.
It's still on Levia, but we can show those images in a second. You have a minute left on the Levia, the Adorbination. No one is challenging Nate. We only have one, it looks like we only have one Fab fan here, but that's fine.
That makes it good for you.
Nate can get his adorable, adorable Levia. Or Levia, not Levia, because it's based off Leviathan. Levia.
Peach Momoko.
Ah, Peach is awesome.
She's awesome. She is a fantastic illustrator. She's very creative. She has a style that it works super well because there's a familiarity about it without looking like anybody else. Like when you see it, it just kind of feels like you kind of should know it. Even if you don't know who it is, it just has a familiar kind of feel.
Nate has won his adorable Levia.
Congratulations.
Sorry, it's taking us a bit to. We're not doing as fancy tricks here tonight. Here, you guys can see the. Well, we can get the behind Steve view of his working area. And Scott needed to go home to his wonderful family tonight. So we're giving him a little break and trying to run this rodeo by ourselves and hoping that the software and the hardware all plays nice together.
That's about 5. I'd also say
That is 5.
Nicholas
That's more than 5.
Delort or E.M. Geist. Nicholas Delort does pen and ink, and it's just really detailed and awesome. I've always liked pen and ink, and that's kind of where Mark Nielsen comes in. And some of the classics are my favorites from that too, like Gustave Doré, of course, M.C. Escher, Franklin Booth. These guys are all amazing with just black and white. Alphonse Mucha. Of course, sorry, now I'm diverting to the old
So
school
there's another
guys.
question, and this one's an interesting one because I think as a artist for hire, you kind of can't do this, but it's an interesting question. Shyla asks, has there ever been a piece that you've ever gotten stuck on or given up on?
I have a lot of personal pieces that kind of got abandoned, unfortunately. For me, it's usually a matter of just time. Like I need to do something else. That's the nature of the commercial side of it, like Kat was mentioning. When it comes to the commercial stuff, you can't get stuck. you just have to power through. And that's a good, it's a good
You won't get
skill.
hired again.
It's one of the reasons I feel like I've managed to keep going with a lot of things is it's a skill you learn when you work professionally. Is if you get stuck or you're not inspired or the muse hasn't hit you, it doesn't matter. Like,
Steve, by the way, you're over an hour on this piece, so we should flip.
okay.
But it was asked in the chat if you're going to add anything to the auction tonight.
The auctions.
The auctions right now are all expensive things. So I don't. Just the feel I'm getting right now is the people aren't interested in the higher price points. People in the chat, tell me if I'm wrong. Not that it's not, I don't want to put it. Most of the stuff in your stuff right now is running about $500.
Yes, and
that's
it's a little bit
high.
specialty, like.
Because I want to kind of watch how I say that, because some of the bids have gone quite high, and that's awesome, but not $500 high. And that's what usually, they're oil paintings usually, or some of these, why they're so high and expensive is because they're on a very, very rare artist proof. Suri is saying you should auction a 500 art slot. That's actually what the pre-orders were. The pre-orders were, a lot of them, there were different slots, but there were ones for oil painted altars and oil painted artist proofs. And so those kind of, I don't want to say auctioned, but those were already put up. Those were the pre-show.
Yes.
$500 for 1 hour, that is awesome and amazing. Our 500 ones usually spent more time on them than that. But we kind of already did that. My suggestion is you pause on this one and we do another 20 or 25 minute sketch.
Sure, that sounds like a good idea.
To end the night. It's 8:25. We were supposed to end at 9, right? Because I need to go play my Mario RPG. I got plans, Steve. Big plans.
Okay, so we will stop this one. I'll start a sketch. I'm not going to finish
Surya was
it.
also kind of asking, can they have input? And
Oh,
I
of
don't know if they
course.
were here earlier. Steve's going to announce what artist proof it's on. Steve will pick the artist proof. And then people on the chat can kind of put out what they want to see on it. And Steve's last time, it was an amalgamation of suggestions in the chat. And then the last 5 minutes of the night, we'll set the auction on. And
So we're doing a Never
people,
Flying
you'll
Chalice.
see him do it. You'll see him draw. Steve, I don't know. I want you to do an artist proof. The Phyrexian.
A Phyrexian thing?
No. But it could be Phyrexian. I want them to vote.
A Glistener elf?
The Glistener elf with the
On the Glistener
Phyrexian
elf.
writing is kind of cool. Do you need me to get it from downstairs?
Yes. It is in the room with all of the things, but I think it's just sitting on top of the.
You're lucky I'm kind of terrified that it actually understood what you just said. The room with all the things.
The room where we keep the artist proofs in the card
that
file.
thing.
But it's not in the card file, I don't think. It's on top. And I think it's in a box like
You
this.
can watch the chat, huh?
I think it's in a box like
Yep.
this.
So you watch the chat for the suggestions. I'm gonna go get a Phyrexian Glistener elf.
Okay, the one caveat is I don't remember if that one needs to be sanded. If it does, then that would,
Jump back.
yeah, then we'll do this. In the meantime, I'll maybe just start doodling something anyway. Keep myself busy, but I will be watching, actually, yeah, I'll watch the chat. Human version of a Praetor, pretty cool. Liliana slapping Watsy for making her not sexy anymore. Very meta. Fireball? Could do, could do. One of my default warm-up / practices is just portraits, because they're hard and you can really never get enough practice. So whenever I'm just like, I don't know what to draw, I just start drawing ahead. And the way I tend to draw everything these days, including heads, is really loose, really sketchy, really gestural, and just kind of getting a basic, almost like cloud of lines to then
Steve, you were
start.
completely and utterly wrong.
I was wrong.
Well, it was in the right room. It was filed away like it was supposed to be.
Oh, I filed it like I'm supposed to?
Or I did.
Probably.
It was not just laying out. But I checked there first, and then I was like, wait, maybe it's just actually put away.
Okay, let's see how slick it is. That should work.
Okay. Show people the front of it.
Phyrexian Glistener Elf. With the Phyrexian writing, all that good stuff.
Did you decide on the image you're going to draw? They were making suggestions. Another idea, human version of a Praetor.
That fits the
Sketch
theme
of
pretty
Liliana
well.
slapping Wadley for making her not sexy anymore. Sorry. Pre-Phyrexian Glistener Elf in mid-Phyrexis. Broken Phyrexian fixing itself. A silly one. What
silly
pencil are you
Phyrexian.
using?
This is just a mechanical pencil, Pentel. It's a 0.9 millimeter, which is bigger than most mechanical pencils. I actually switch between a few different ones. So I start with the big 09 that you really can't get much detail in it, which is the point. And then I'll either hop to a 0.7, which is pretty good for most things. Or I'll jump over to, this is a 0.2. It's very tiny. Really good for details. I mean, particularly when you're working on something as small as an artist proof. I also have one that I have down in my office that I didn't, oh wait, no, I did bring it up. Oh, no, this is
Human
this is also a
Vorinclex or
0.2.
human Shieldred is another question or a request, Steve.
Those are both good.
Panda just put Fireball. I'm not sure if that was a request.
Shielder is one that I know well enough to do from memory, so.
Did you ever work on a piece with someone else? Like for Fab, you did the Dolt Viscerae or the Levia that have both have other versions.
So there are lots of things where it's not necessarily that I worked, like that example where there's a version and then I do another version. That happens fairly regularly. Like Glistener Elf, for example, the first, or no, wait, sorry. I'm thinking Glissa, sorry. Because that's another Phyrexian elf. But Glissa, the first version of her was done by Brahm. I wasn't the first one to do Liliana. As far as doing like a collaboration where we two artists work on the same piece, that I have done, but it's a lot less common. I've done some pieces with Jason Engel where he did the pencils and I did the color.
But none of those were actual commissions, right?
They were for his miniatures company.
Oh, cool. And I guess you've done some collaborative pieces. The pieces for D&D, where it was Steve Argyle
yeah.
Studios
Yeah, we did.
for the manual for the. Is that just
For
the player's manual?
handbook. It was the player's handbook for 4th
3.5?
edition or 3.5.
Steve did some art in the 3.5 and asked. They gave him a really tight timeline, and so he asked if he could hire people to help, and so they're done under the title of Steve Argyle Studios, and like me and his sister and our friend Sean and our friend Trulock and Steve's brother Mark all worked, did different sketches and did different parts of the process. Like I did the color flats. Steve, Trulock did the sketches. Me and Sean did color flats, and then Steve would go and Argyle-ify it. What's the biggest commission project you did for a non-commercial client that you can talk about?
For a non-commercial
I don't think you've
client?
ever had an NDA for a non-commercial client.
Yeah, they don't
They don't really care that much.
usually do that. Biggest?
Non-commercial client.
I mean, most of those end up just being like one painting. And I guess that would probably be.
There have been a couple of those personal paintings, like the vampire you did, or
Yeah, I did a vampire in fairly ornate armor. That was pretty big.
there's oil painted artist proofs is the other. When you're talking biggest, I imagine you mean monetary, not size.
Or amount of time and effort.
How many times do you practice your signature, make it consistent? He doesn't have to practice. You guys give him enough work doing that on his own.
Yep. Yeah, I never actually practiced it. It just sort of evolved. And of course, I don't. Yeah, I do it so often now. I don't do it any more than I have to.
We actually
There's no
joke that if we were
practice.
to hook, once Steve dies, if we hook him up to a car battery and you shock him, we think he'll just do his signature over and over again. Weekend at Bernie's Inn.
Yep. I told Kat that's the life insurance policy. Is, you know what? If I die, don't tell anybody. Just bring a car battery to conventions. The muscle memory will just do the rest.
I think Justin already knows the answer to this, but he is asking what made you decide to start signing with your full name? Because there actually has been, it's an interesting thing you ask about the signature, there has been an evolution of Steve's signature. He used to just sign his last name, Argyle.
Yep. And then the last name and doing multiple colors happened on the same day. I was invited to pre-release. It's like pre-release Cincinnati or something like that. Columbus, that's what it was. And it was Christmas. So for one, there wasn't a whole lot of people attending. One of the things that Wizards has done many years, not like consecutively, but every few years they're like, they'll give one of the tournament organizers dates, and they'll every few years they'll give somebody Christmas weekend.
Draw.
Sorry,
Timer.
yes, timer. They'll give them Christmas weekend, and so I've done a few Christmas weekend shows, and it's what you'd expect. Not a whole lot of people come, but the people who do are
Hardcore.
they're hardcore, and they're usually pretty fun. You know,
It's a more relaxed sort of atmosphere where everyone's hanging out.
And so I was at one of those, and it was my Bloodbraid Elf had just come out. And it was the promo version. It was all nice and foil and fancy. And this was the first show that anybody had him at. So I was like, well, since it's Christmas and it's an elf that's green and red, we should do something special. So I'm going to sign in green and red. And it makes sense to just do both names, because why would I split my name in half with green and red? So I just started signing Steve Argyle instead of just Argyle. And I told everybody at the show, like, just on this card, and I'm only doing this the one time. I don't have to do this forever.
And you started an arms race that weekend.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing, is it didn't take me too long to cave to people going, well, can I get my Liliana in like 2 colors too, and first name and last name? I mean, I guess. Okay, I'll do it at this show, but I don't want to make it a thing. And then, of course, the next show I go to, it's like, I saw that you did this. I want that. And
I don't think people totally realize that kind of started the whole color and shadow signature trend. It used to be pretty much black Sharpies, or sometimes if someone brought their own gold or silver Sharpie. But it was almost always black Sharpie exclusively.
yeah.
And what happened on this Christmas weekend
It's fateful
show
Christmas.
started the whole arms race that you now see, where it's like shadow signatures, unicorn blood signatures, rainbow signatures. It totally, and that's also now why Steve signs with his first and last name.
Yep. That is how it happened.
Green slime signature soon. You've done a slimy signature on one, because Steve likes you. If you look
I've done
over
some
on the
weird
products,
signatures.
Steve loves drawing like oozes and slimes. He thinks, but making them adorable. And so he has done ones where it's like a custom signature that matches the artwork that was done. And so he's done a slime one. Well, drawn slime.
And for a lot of altars, I will do a kind of custom signature that fits the artwork.
Thank God we never got to blood signatures. That's another funny one. Howard Lyon has the one called Signed in Blood, and he figured out a way to make a like airbrush. His signatures have gone so crazy. He has an airbrush, and he does like a blood mimic,
Like a spatter.
with like a blood splatter signature now on his Signed in Blood cards. So this is looking like you're doing a Shieldred.
Uh-huh. It took me a long time to just learn to say no to things. I used to take way too much work because I just didn't want to say no. I just was like, I'll figure out how
part of
to.
it, every artist I know of that's successful has the imposter syndrome. They feel like they're not a good enough artist, and someday everyone's going to figure it out and just stop hiring them all of a sudden.
But they're wrong. It's just me. Yeah, that is a constant thing that never goes away. For all of you aspiring artists who have imposter syndrome because you can't be an artist and not have it, it's everybody, and it's always.
I think it's what drives artists to keep going. Once you think you've arrived and you're the best, you're not going to progress anymore. You're not going to get any better. You're not going to challenge yourself.
That is true. I do know, or have known, some artists who are like, yep, I got everything I
Hand
need.
check.
I'm the best there is. I just need to, the world needs to discover me. Yeah, they're never very good. and they don't get better.
Abracadabra says, I am just about to defend my dissertation, and I definitely have imposter syndrome. It's rough. Like I said, as long as it's not crippling, I think it's healthy for people because it pushes you to not ever be satisfied and always keep going. Do artists still strive towards a magnum opus? I think as a commercial artist, no, that's my opinion though. Steve?
I think it's that we always feel like the piece we're just about to do is going to be our magnum opus, and then halfway through it we go, the next one is going to be my magnum opus. 'Cause for the most part, we always want to do the best job we can. We always want to put as much as we can into every piece, and it's, you know, the saying that no plan survives contact with the enemy. Everybody on this stream has had that thing where it's like you have a plan, you have a thing you want to do, it's going to be great, it's going to be awesome. You start it, and it just, as it starts materializing, or as you're doing the thing, it's not quite living up to what you had hoped. And that's just how it works every single time.
Well, there's also that quote of, there is no finished art, only abandoned.
Yeah, there's no such thing as finished art. Yep, that's also true.
Trying to get caught up on some of the questions. I'm trying to pick through the questions to kind of keep them more relevant in line, and then I'll get to some of the other ones, by the way. I'm not just ignoring them. The one is, how has the evolution of tech changed the drawing process? It's kind of funny with you because you used to be super, super tech heavy, and now you're not. So,
yeah, I kind of did art backwards. I did draw and doodle and stuff, but my first art job was
picking up from the discussion earlier.
Yeah, it was 3D modeling, and from there, I did a little bit of concept art for the same thing, for
video games.
For video games and TV and stuff. It was, this is what we need to model. Let's do some concept art to make sure that it's what we need. And so I started with very, very Photoshop / 3D software heavy process and skill set. We were saying earlier, I didn't start oil painting until 2010, and I didn't finish an oil painting until 2016.
Although I will talk about some tech changes, Cintiq.
Yeah, having the Cintiq tablet made a big difference because it was a one-to-one for what you were drawing.
Where you draw
could
on
see
the
what you're
screen
drawing.
directly instead of on a board and then look up at the screen.
And just Photoshop's, well, any software's ability to make big changes that are just a huge headache to do with traditional media. Like, this thing needs to be smaller. I mean, normally that, like if you were,
Change the color.
if it was an oil painting, then you erase it and start over, or a drawing. Or this needs to move over here a little bit, or can you tint the whole thing, or can it just be brighter, or have more contrast? Like, painting, that's a huge, huge ordeal. Whereas in Photoshop, it's you make an adjustment layer and you fiddle with it until it's right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of where the biggest stuff has been.
Russell's saying, you notice the reversal of the techno evolution most artists take. Just personally, he really appreciates it, where they go from a lot of technology to back to more traditional. Though Steve, because it's how he started, it is how he is fastest, and it's still amazing to watch sometimes. To call this out, a lot of artists are not very fast with 3D, but Steve is still faster than most people at 3D modeling something up. And so sometimes, even if he's still doing a traditional piece, he'll 3D model it up, set some lighting, and just to get an idea for some mock-ups before he actually starts drawing. Because it's just how Steve is comfortable working. He makes his 3D models on his computer and then might still traditionally paint it.
Yep.
Because
Well,
he's
that's,
quick at it.
That's what happened with the Mistborn piece. Is it had this crazy architecture that I didn't want to have to draw out all by hand, and so I just modeled these buildings and just basically did a render and transferred it over to the canvas, because that was easier, so much easier. Perspective is the bane of many an artist.
Yeah, you're saying digital can have some really striking imagery. It just never is as visceral a reaction to me as physical media. I've seen both. I mean, a great argument, I guess, for that is Van Gogh. I never really appreciated his stuff until I saw it in person. And it's like he was sculpting with paint. And very impactful pieces. So I can agree on that level too.
Same here, like a lot of original paintings, they just look amazing. And they may not look that way in prints. Stuff like a lot of classical artists like Van Gogh, Monet.
Well, why the Mona Lisa for art nerds is popular is that the glazing, which is kind of that light layer upon light layer upon light layer to almost give it that see-through skin look. The Mona Lisa is a great example of glazing and really well done. It's not just because it's stupidly famous, but it has very good art techniques that you kind of have to see in person.
Yeah, it really does look different in person, because you know, we've all seen tons of pictures of it in textbooks and stuff, and you kind of go, what's the big deal? I mean, it's a portrait of a gal with kind of a big forehead. Why is this special? And it's special for a few reasons. One is that it's famous because it got stolen. One is that it was Leonardo da Vinci, and he was an extraordinary person in a lot of different things. And so just having him do it was a thing. But when you see it in person, you also go, oh, this is different. This is this doesn't look like what I expected it to. Because of course, there's plenty, like it's not like it's a whole different thing. But when you look up close, it was painted in so many layers that it has that translucency of like human skin. So it doesn't look quite like, oh, this is a really good painting. It's kind of like, this is a squished person. Like it's, it has a feeling of life that I just hadn't really seen before. And we probably won't see much of that sort of thing again, because Leonardo painted that thing in the wrongest way you can. By
Hand
that, what I mean is, it is amazing that that painting is in one piece. He
tried different techniques to get what he wanted that are not archival.
Yes. So his glazes were done in Damar varnish. Damar varnish is essentially tree sap and turpentine. The turpentine dissolves the tree sap, and it's used to varnish paintings because it's nice and shiny and pretty, but and it protects the oil paint. But you can also take it off, right? It protects it, but you can clean the painting off by just dissolving.
Keep drawing.
Sorry. You can dissolve the varnish off, right? The Mona Lisa is painted. The medium he used was varnish, the Damar varnish, and he just went layer after layer after layer after layer, and somehow didn't dissolve one layer with the next, and it managed to make a really thick glazed piece. It is not sturdy, right? That stuff, if it gets too hot, it will do what tree sap does. If it gets anywhere near any kind of a solvent, it's just gone. It also means it's going to be next to impossible to restore it if something happens to it. Because the way that you usually restore stuff is you take the varnish off and you fix the stuff, and then you use what's called retouching varnish to paint in stuff that you need to and revarnish the thing. Now it's protected for another couple hundred years or whatever. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's hard to see in person because so many people are doing selfies in front of it and not actually looking at it.
It's so annoying. I wanted to go look at the Mona Lisa, and everyone was turned around looking the other way. They weren't even looking at the picture, and you couldn't get up to the front of the queue because they're all turned around taking selfies with it. It was the most frustrating thing ever.
It's the most crowded room, and nobody's looking at the only thing in the room. Right? Mona Lisa's tiny, and they've got
Everyone says it's so tiny. It was bigger than I thought. It's
It's
a
like
little bigger than your...
it's like a portrait size, but you expect it to be big. You expect it to be like that somehow, but it's, like, she's not life size. She's pretty small. But you kind of have to either just wait forever until people clear out, which doesn't kind of happen, or you just have to muscle your way to the front and be in their way for their selfies for a little bit.
Surya said it's the same energy as people watching concerts live through their phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very frustrating. So to go on to another question here. Steve, I'm going to hit the snooze button for you since you've been talking with your hands.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
not going to start the auction for at least another 5 minutes. That means you guys...
Oh, we're doing the auction for this tonight? We're not doing it?
Yes.
That makes sense, okay. For
It's
some
one of
reason
your
I thought we were
timelines.
doing this for tomorrow, but as soon as I
wondering
said
why
it,
you
I was
were
like,
just like
oh.
lackadaisical, taking your time. This is a timed one, Steve.
I think it's because
Focus.
the question was, will we have previews of what's coming up tomorrow? And so in my head, I was like, oh, this is for tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll try to get Steve to do some more stuff tonight to post for tomorrow, too. Agreed that the start of each session... Facebook...
There are quite a few. I mean...
Facebook just stopped.
There
Okay.
are many pieces, in fact, going all the way back to my L5R days with
Even before that.
Daigatsu, who is like the second set of CCG stuff that I did.
Even
and-
before your CCG days, you've seen people with tattoos. Twist Metal.
Yeah, I don't consider that quite the same.
Okay. So, sorry, let me finish that thought so people don't feel in the middle of something. Steve, in his studio days, worked on Twisted Metal Black, and all the advertising for Twisted Metal Black, so that burning, broken clown mask in the middle of the street, all the advertising art, and most of the video, like the cutscenes, Steve did himself, or worked with a team on it. The advertising art, Steve did himself. The video, Steve worked with a team on. And we've seen a lot of people with that
That clown mask.
with
I have that clown mask downstairs.
but they have
The
that
clown
mask.
mask,
Well,
like-
but what I'm talking about is specifically there's that advertising art of Sweet Tooth's mask just burning in the road, and
Uh-huh.
I've seen that tattoo on a number of people.
Yeah, that. That's me.
So
back in
I
the
think
day.
that's the earliest ones I've seen. But the question was CCG, so please keep going. Dagatsu.
Yeah, Daigatsu all the way up to. Trying to think of the most recent. There's lots of Liliana. There's lots of Deathrite Shaman. I've seen a Monastery Swiftspear. You know,
Surya says that they're tempted to get the Death Girl sketch you did tattooed. I think it'd make a good black and white tattoo.
Viscerai. I've seen a Viscerai tattoo. That's probably the newest of the CCG stuff I've done that I've seen in a tattoo. I mean, that's not super new. It's like 3 or 4 years old, but I can't think of anything newer. I'm waiting to see a Mervyn tattoo. Somebody's gonna get one sometime.
Ever-flowing chalice tattoos? I don't think I've ever seen one.
No, don't think I've seen an ever-flowing chalice.
Someone's looking for a Glissa Trader artist proof. Do we have those anymore? Sorry, Digimans, I saw you earlier, but we were in the middle of a conversation, so.
Those were promos. I don't know if I ever had proofs.
Especially at the original early stuff, we never got artist proofs of promos in
Yeah.
the early days.
So I'm not sure that I ever had them, but I'm pretty sure we don't have them if we ever did.
I don't think we ever did, because I think you're right, because they were a promo. We didn't ever get them. They do them for promos now, but back in the day, they never did them for promos.
Yeah, artist proofs kind of went through an evolution. For the first little while, artists didn't know what to do with them, and so they were
Giving them
almost
out as
considered
business
like
cards.
a nuisance. Yeah, they would they'd write their name on it and give them out at conventions as business cards, and so I kind of wonder if they almost vanished at some point because the artists didn't really care. But enough collectors started really caring that the artists started caring.
I love the idea of the sketch on them. I think that was a fun way
Yeah.
to take it. All right,
Yeah.
Steve, we're at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Okay.
Can I start your 5? Okay, we'll start your auction 5-minute timer as quick as I can make a new page for this one.
Okay, fair enough. It's sort of Sheoldredy, but it's also sort of morphed into a new character.
Just a demon. Should we call it Sheoldrish?
Sure. But there have been multiple versions of Sheoldred, like whether she has just nothing in front of her face, like no eyes, or 2 big red eyes that kind of look like Spider-Man eyes, or 6 eyes, like she's changed a few times, and the horns are different from version to version. So I'm gonna say that there's some creative license here, because she isn't set in
Starting
stone.
price, it is on that Phyrexian Glistener Elf.
Yes, which is a
I did not get the foil one.
it's a rare, which would normally be $30 to start, and then our sketches are 80
$80?
bucks.
So what do you want me to put?
And I keep getting oil paint on this thing
Oh gosh.
because it's because I've got some off to the sides, and I keep getting
Stop
my.
trying to distract me
Sorry.
from starting this auction. Getting more time. I see what you're doing.
More time.
Trying to hit the snooze button again. Abracadabra says it's probably just Phyrexian oil. It's
That's right.
fine. It's fine. It's
right.
fine. All right, is Steve gonna turn Phyrexian now? I guess you have been over the years. Stop distracting me. Starting price. Neri's saying just start it. It'll go above whatever you're gonna put it at. Should we start it at 100?
Sounds good.
It'll be $10 below what the actual con price would be. Okay. She's on there. Shieldrish AP sketch.
Okay.
And I was teasing Steve about, you were saying if he gets Phyrexian oil on him, is he going to start turning into a machine? But Steve was already half machine. He had wires in one wrist. He has screws in the one that you actually see on the screen drawing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe see my scar.
Yep, there's your scar.
Yep.
That has screws in it, 3 screws in it. His other wrist had screws and pins and wire.
Yep. I break stuff.
But, so Steve, we always joked, was more machine than man now. Except a couple of years ago, he actually started reversing the process of becoming a Phyrexian in that he had some of the pins removed. They were causing problems. And
My body was rejecting them. It was pushing him out like Wolverine pushes out bullets.
yep. And so Steve started, it started catching on tendons and causing a lot of pain. So they had to cut back open his surgery scars and remove, what was it, 15 years later or 20 years later, remove the pins.
Mm-hmm. As well as a whole bunch of just dead tissue, apparently. They're like, yeah, it's all like black and gross in there, so we just cut it out. Oh, is that normal, healthy? They're like, I don't know, it was black. He didn't want it. I'm sure. It was dead. I mean,
Art is a dangerous hobby is one of the comments. We can rebuild him. Is the other.
if you're using the good paints, it's a dangerous hobby. Lead and cadmium and all
Just don't
kinds
lick
of
your
stuff.
paintbrushes.
That was a genuine problem with some of the classical
Cow
oil
urine
painters.
is okay though.
Cow urine's okay though.
That is a
Thanks for listening.
that is a nod back to the conversation earlier as to where some paint bases are come from.
There are some very fascinating pigments out there. If you guys are interested in more, tomorrow I can tell you about some reds and purples that have some crazy history. One of the most expensive materials on the planet is a purple dye. And if you're Game of Thrones fans, I'm almost positive that's where the name Tyrion comes from. So it's Tyrion purple.
And it's
And
associated to royalty because it's so expensive.
yep, it's
There's the beetle blood pigment. Yep.
the cochineal bug.
Dragon urine, that would be a pretty rare one.
That would be. Would it just eat through your canvas?
Either that or is it going to just be like molten gold?
I mean,
It
that'd be
depends
awesome.
on what you think they eat. Yeah, the cochineal beetle one is an interesting one, crushing them up. Is it actually their blood or is it just a pigment in their shell?
I'm pretty sure it's the shell.
But it is a beautiful, beautiful red.
And it changed the world. We did not have a real, well, we didn't have an easily available permanent red until that was discovered.
That's an interesting thing about what Steve will talk about tomorrow, where he's hinting at, because I don't want to get him started tonight.
It takes a few minutes. I mean,
Is the idea that fast or like color stick dyes and stuff wasn't a common thing. It was very difficult to find any pigments that lasted.
so fun colors that I can think of off the top of my head. There's the Tyrion purple, there's the cochineal red, and there's Perkins mauve. Perkins mauve is a great story.
15 seconds left.
15 seconds.
Because Mama's got to get her Mario RPG, and guys, we got to end this stream for tonight. We'll see if they keep hitting the snooze button for us. Nope. Neri got it.
Awesome.
Congrats, Neri. What are other interesting ones? Sorry, I interrupted you for the last seconds on that.
Those are the ones that I can talk about without having to look stuff up. The black ink that you can get for sumi-e painting from Japan.
Oh,
That
that
stuff
takes.
is-
That's so cool to watch them make, and the amount of
It's-
time they put into and kneading it by foot. Go find those videos online about how they make that ink. It's amazing.
Ultramarine was a very valuable blue because it was from the mineral, and we now have synthetic ultramarine, which a lot of the old school pigments are still the best. It's just that there's an easier, cheaper way to make them now. But ultramarine, synthetic ultramarine, is way better than actual ultramarine. They managed to get all of the particles about the same size. The problem with a lot of pigments that you grind from minerals is you grind it, you have different size things, and so you have consistency problems, and all kinds of stuff. That's not as interesting as some of the other stories, though. Ultramarine being like, hey, we have a new one and it's better. But I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. And
But
we
come
will.
and join us tomorrow. Again, 1 to 3 Mountain Time is our first batch, and then 4 to 6 Mountain Time. The tea's here. So what you just saw there, to get people to come early and be a part of it and sign on early. At the start of each session, we will have Steve do a fresh artist-proof sketch. We'll have him sketch for 15 to 20 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes we'll auction the sketch that is actively going on. So it's a reason to get on early for each of the right on time for each of the sessions. Now, with that said, I don't think we've started a session on time yet.
We
will try.
We keep trying.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you to the equipment for not giving us trouble while our techie is out for the night, while Scott is out for the night. But yeah, come and join us tomorrow. There's the 4 products that are still left that are a little expensive. Please do let us know if anyone is interested in purchasing those. Speak up. But we will also see if Steve can maybe get some more sketches in tonight to do some auctions on too.
Yep.
All right, I think that's it. Thanks, guys. We feel your love and support.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for making
Thanks so
Rejecticon
much.
awesome. Okay, Whatnot is shut down.
The other ones don't want to close. It's like they're broken.